broadcasting stations.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on a gorgeous sunny hump day Wednesday. Yes, we're almost through with the month of March. It's Wednesday, the 29th in the year 2023. Grizz win 33rd time at home this year. That is the best in the NBA. That was their 7th straight win total. 12 at FedEx Forum, now a 3-game lead on Sacramento. And we got the voice today. The television voice of the Grizzlies, Pete Pranica. He's going to join us on Wednesdays now. Now that the college basketball season is pretty close to over, we'll get to that in a second. Now that it's pretty close to over, we concentrate on the Grizzlies and the NBA a little bit more. And who better than Pete Pranica, the TV voice, to join us every Wednesday in this time slot. He will begin this morning in our next segment. Speaking of basketball, you know, the new American Athletic Conference might not be so bad. Do you realize Florida Atlantic's in the Final Four? Do you know who is in the championship game, Brian Takis, of the NIT?
North Texas and UAB.
Bingo! The final, not just the Final Four, the championship game of the NIT. The best of the rest, right?
That's right. And Charlotte won the CBI. So there's a potential that every postseason tournament would have a winner from the new American.
That is amazing if FAU were to win. Who knows? So, speaking of which, do you know how many brackets the ESPN bracket contest had?
Millions.
20 million. Over 20 million.
That's insane.
Do you know how many have actually gotten the Final Four correct out of over 20 million?
I would think zero, but it's got to be a couple since you're asking. I wouldn't think more than like 100.
37.
37.
Who are those people?
That's insane.
How could they have actually gotten this right?
I mean that's just you get a lucky. So my mom always picks colors and mascots, stuff like that. It's gotta be something like that.
Here's what I thought. I thought, there's a lot of mathematicians out there that probably did over 1,000 different combinations and submitted them to ESPN. But I was told the max that any particular site could do would be 25 brackets.
Yeah.
So at 25, that's like, how did they get to this? How? I'd like to talk to one of the 37 and just go, how did you do this?
And can you do my bracket next year?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, there's a list of the top 9 basketball coaches in college hoops, which John Calipari makes the most. At Kentucky, makes $8.5 million. I think it goes up to $8.7 million next year. Excuse me. Bill Self is second. He's making $6 million. Izzo is making $5.7 million, third most. Rick Barnes at Tennessee, fourth most at $5.5 million. Bruce Pearl, same thing, so tied for fourth. Tony Bennett would be sixth at $4.8 million at Virginia. Brad Underwood is at Illinois making $4.6 million. Huggins at $4.2 million. Mick Cronin at $4.1 million. That's your top 9. None of those are in the NCAA anymore.
So that's interesting. I mean, it's.
I feel bad for Bill Self because Self didn't get to coach, and that might have been a different story. He might have beaten Arkansas had he been the head coach. I thought Izzo actually his teams underproduced this year.
They did.
They produced well enough in the NCAA. Well, they got to the second game, right? Rick Barnes. He never seems to get past the second round of the NCAA tournament. Wherever he is. Mm-hmm. Although I do think I'm trying to remember. I know he's taken Clemson to the Sweet 16. I'm pretty sure he took Texas. I know he took Texas to some Sweet 16s. Tony Bennett, it's feast or famine. Bruce Pearl. But I think Bruce Pearl's done a pretty good job, honestly. You can't say much about him. Brad Underwood is just starting at Illinois. Huggs, I actually thought Huggs might retire, but he's going to stick around. And, Cronin, he's done a heck of a job of revitalizing UCLA. And we're talking Final Four. Those guys all were in the tournament. Every one of them made the tournament. So I guess what's your varying degrees of success, really?
That's a good question. It looks like Rick Barnes has made it to the Sweet 16 or further 8 times in his career.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So, yeah, that's pretty good. He's made 2 Elite Eights, 1 Final Four at Texas.
And that was not with Kevin Durant, right? He had Kevin Durant and a guard, I think, that are now in the NBA. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, the year I'm pretty sure he had Kevin Durant. They went to the Elite Eight, but it was 2002, 2003. He went to the Final Four, so a little bit before.
And
Kevin
honestly,
Durant.
this team lost its point guard, and I don't think it was ever a Final Four team.
I don't think so.
It was clearly not the best team. The best team in the SEC was Alabama. We will talk about that with Ron Higgins in our final segment of the show. Let's get to the Grizz, who beat Orlando last night. They built a big lead. Then they played poorly and really not so smart. They hold on. They win 113-108. Triple J. I know he's a smart guy. He comes from a smart family. His mother is the head of the Women's Players Association in the WNBA, right? I mean, he comes from a really good academic, grounded background. And when you talk with him, he is articulate.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He plays like he's lost his mind half the time.
He does. That's
when he gets
sad.
in foul trouble, instead of being more cautious, he goes like, "I'm daring you to make a call."
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy just do crazy or stupid things. Now, I did think he got teched ridiculously last night.
I would agree with that.
He goes, and clearly the replay, in my mind, shows that he fouled the guy. He did get ball, but he's got his hand on the guy's shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
That's a foul.
Yeah.
Sorry. But then he just kind of in frustration takes his hands, puts them toward the sky, both his hands, and immediately the baseline referee tees him. Why? He didn't yell at him. He didn't really try to show him up. He was just disappointed with the call. And I want to get into this with Pete Pranica a little bit. I do think there is a major disjoint between players and referees
for sure
in this era. And unbelievable disrespect. Who was the player that threw a ball at the ref the other night? I'm sure he's going to get suspended.
I'm sure.
And he should.
Yeah.
How can you throw a ball at a referee? But the disrespect that there is.
There's a lot.
And there's a lack of communication. Part of it is on the refs. Like last night, no offense to either real party. I'm not trying, but that was a ridiculous tack.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to make you any favors with anybody when they're clearly, if you're trying to show up the ref, okay, I get a T.
Yeah.
That was just a reaction. It really wasn't a horrible one. Mm-hmm. No reason for a T there.
No, I don't think so. But it seems like you're talking about that disconnect between the players and the refs in this era. It really seems like the refs have almost gotten to a point where they've almost like put their guard up because of the disrespect and kind of the back and forth that a lot of players give to them. And it almost seems like in this situation last night, to me, it felt like this ref was like, oh, Jaron's going to, he's going to be that type of guy. He's going to start yelling at me and talking at me. And so I'm just going to tee him up real quick. And I feel like we shouldn't get to that point.
Anticipatory is what you're saying?
Yeah, seemed to be of like almost he's had that, guy's jaw at him a lot of times. And so it's just, I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to let it get to that. I'm just going to tee him up. You show me up like that, I'm going to tee you up. And we shouldn't be at that point. I think there needs to be more of a connection between players where a guy can go up to a ref and just be like, hey, can we talk about that? What happened? Yada, yada, yada. Well, it just doesn't seem like that happens in the NBA.
How about this? How about the commissioner? I don't think you need player association approval on this. How about the commissioner just says, let's do this like college?
Yeah.
And players can't talk to the refs.
Yeah.
Only the coaches. I mean, they can go up and they can BS with them,
sure.
and you see that all the time. But if you were told you're not supposed to have communication with the referee, how would that go? Would that cut some of this down? And maybe when a guy just goes like that, that ref is knowing there's not going to be any discussion, would go, the first little reaction, I'm not going to do anything. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. And again, that could be something the Players Association would have to have a say in.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm not aware of how the Constitution of the NBA reads. But if the communication between them is so hostile as it has gotten, then maybe you need to have like the college rule where the coaches are the only ones that can argue calls. Something to think about. Desmond Bain saved the day with late free throws, although I'll say this, he missed a couple that could have been critical. He ends up with 31 points. He had 5 assists, 3 steals in the game, and 4 rebounds, his usual game. And he made a good point afterwards. Luke Kennard had a string, I think it was 13 straight threes made at FedEx Forum. He had made 4 in a row in the first half. Finally missed a 3 at FedEx Forum during the game. But when you take into account Jaren Jackson, Bain, and let's not forget Luke Kennard, who's now, I think in the last 8 games, he's shooting like 61%. And most of those are from downtown. You've got 4 different guys who, in Bain's words, can take over a game. What do you do if you're the defense?
Hard. It's really hard. I found it, and I'm sure it went up last night because of the game he had. So I'm trying to pull it up real quick. In the month of March, Luke Kennard this season is shooting. It was 53.9% from the field, 55.4% from 3. That's in 15 games.
Wow. Well, so I can tell you over the last 8 games, it's 61% from outside.
Yeah.
And most of those are 3, so it's well over 50%. If he's at 53% for 15 games, for the last 8, he's probably close to 60%, 58%, whatever it may be. The unsung hero to me, Xavier Tillman, who had a career-high 20 last night to go with 9 rebounds. When Steven Adams is able to come back, would you bring him off the bench considering what Tillman has done, or maybe just by matchup? I'm going to ask Pete Pranica that a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. They've got offensive rebounding has been such a big issue since Steven Adams has left that I'm just praying that he can get back as quick as possible because, that offensive glass, especially late in that game last night, it became a real issue.
They just played so dumb down the stretch. It's just amazing to me. I don't know what they were thinking. They looked like a lost college team rather than a pro team, especially the one that's got best home record in the league and is second best in the West. And they played great defense last night for, 44 minutes?
Yeah.
You realize that, excuse me, this pollen stuff's killing me.
It's springtime. It's killing everybody. Need to get some Claritin.
Orlando, I got it. I took it every day.
Man.
Orlando averaged 117 points per game this month.
Oh, wow.
And with a few minutes left in the game, maybe 2.5, 3 minutes, they only had 93 points. They hit a bunch. Mo Wagner went crazy at the end. He hit a late 3. It didn't matter. But so your final was 113-108. So they did score 108, but that's still 9 points below their average. They only shot 37% in the first half. And this was without Triple J, by the way, 3 blocks last night. So he's got 177 on the year. That ties his franchise record. So they got 7 games to go.
Yeah.
He's going to obliterate that record. And I wonder do they count playoff games in those season averages or records?
Ooh, that's a good question. I can find out, but I'm not sure. I would think so.
Well, he should get over 200 then to obliterate the 177 that he just tied. And they play the Clips tonight, and they're 4.5-point favorites. Job will probably play. It was a good story that was done on reclamation of his character. And I think it was DeMichael Cole who did it. I can't remember if I read that in the Memphian, but I think it was the commercial appeal, would have been to Michael Cole's column. And Powerade has dropped him already, right? So that campaign was going there. That was a 5-year deal. I think it was $7 million a year, right?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
So that's $35 million, at least at the moment. You know, you can reclaim your rep, your image, and I think he's well on his way to doing that. I hope so for his sake. I hate to see that loss, but that's big money that he was in the commercial, and they pulled the commercial and then changed the commercial, reran the commercial in a different way, using collegiate players rather than him, keeping a guy that looked like sort of him as a kid in the ad, but no mention of Ja, right? So at the moment, that gig is gone. And, you know, that's a sad thing for him, but I think he can reclaim it. Look, what he did, in my mind, is nothing compared to the allegations against Kobe. And in the end, Kobe totally reclaimed his image. And rightfully so. I have no idea what happened in Vail, Colorado with him and that woman. But I know he paid a settlement, and I know he was a good boy after that, and I know he reclaimed his brand, his image, his squeaky clean as a good All-American guy. And I have the sense that Ja can do the same thing because the allegations against Ja, well, there are allegations. He admitted it. Taking the gun out on Instagram at 3 o'clock in the morning at a strip club in Denver, not very wholesome, but he has obviously a chance to change, and he did not hurt anybody but himself, as opposed to the allegations that were made against Kobe Bryant. So I hope he's back tonight. I hope he has a big game against the Clippers. The Grizzlies gets, as I mentioned, 4.5-point favorites. Now they lead Sacramento by 3 games with 7 games remaining on the schedule. I don't think they can blow it. I think they got second, all wrapped up, especially since out of those 7 games, 3 are at home. And their schedule, you know, they're getting the Clippers without Paul George, which is why they are the favorites today. I don't know how good the Clippers are going to be. How many games has Paul George and Kawhi Leonard played together this year?
Good question.
I would say no more than 20 would be my bet, because Kawhi was rested for the first half of the season and, coming back from injury. So I just don't know how good the Clippers can really be. Hall of Fame, what a Hall of Fame class this is going to be. If you haven't seen, Nowitzki gets in from Dallas and should be. He's probably, just by numbers and accomplishments, probably the greatest foreign player in the history of the game. At this point, Luka could beat that. There's others that are playing right now. Jokic could beat that. They may end up with better numbers, but at the moment, Nowitzki, he's the best. I don't think there's any question about that. The guy you could also put in there is also in the class, Pau Gasol, who, of course, played 7 years with the Grizz, won 2 championships with the Lakers. Dwayne Wade. I believe Dwayne Wade was a 13-time All-Star. He's in the Hall of Fame. Tony Parker's in the Hall of Fame. Becky Hammond is in the Hall of Fame. She was amazing. She was like a 6-time All-Star in the WNBA. And
really?
She led a team to the championship series last year, something like that. It's her first year as a head coach, and, of course, she was an assistant at San Antonio for many, many years. Some people thought she might become the first female coach to coach a male team. We'll see how all that plays out. And then, of course, Greg Popovich. I guess there's not a rule for coaches that you have to be retired for an X amount of time.
I guess not. Before
you can be in the Hall, because he's in, and he's still coaching, and I don't think he's going anywhere. So what a class that is.
It's going to be a great class. I'm so excited. I mean, it's finally, me being as young as I am, these are finally like the first, I'm starting the past couple of years, and now is really like the guys that I watched when I was like, 9, 10, 11 years old. So it's way more fun, because growing up, I would always hear people get really excited about the Hall of Fame class. I had never seen these people play before. So now it's for me, very exciting to see these guys go in.
This is a pretty good class. This is interesting. They hold the ceremony in Springfield, Mass. That's where the Hall is. And they apparently have the ceremony at the Symphony Hall of Springfield, Massachusetts. So the capacity in Springfield for their symphony is 2,100. They're saying no way they can hold it with everybody getting in. That all want to come see this. That is pretty darn impressive. Last thing before we take a break and we bring in our friend Pete Pranica, the demands of the Washington Commanders owner, Daniel Snyder, is that he wants $6 billion. He has had 2 offers of the $6 billion, and there's another offer that may be coming. It made me think, all right, Washington is a major market, no doubt about it. And the Commanders used to be the Redskins. They certainly have a great deal of history, and they go back to the beginning of the National Football League, or just about. Nobody goes back as far as the Bears and the Packers, but long enough, established enough for sure. It's not like Buffalo that was an AFL team that came in, right? The Commanders commanding $6 billion? What do you think, even though they're not original either, what do you think the Dallas Cowboys, which most of the time is considered America's team, not by me, but by many, what would they get? What would the New York Giants, because they're one of the originals from the number one market, what would they go for if their family sold the team? It's incredible.
That is insane.
You may get $10 billion for one of those 2 teams. Crazy.
Easily.
$6 billion for the Commanders. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. Don't forget the preseason patio and pool sale. I know for a couple more days because we know what's going on through the end of the month. I don't know what Lindsay or what Billy or anybody else there have concocted. Something will be different probably for the month of April. But right now, there's special early bird pricing, particularly on pools. There's free layaway. Financing's available. The state-of-the-art patio furniture, they're stock full. Go in, check it out, and take advantage of the preseason patio and pool sale going on right now at Family Leisures. And I got a great message from my friend Becky Dinstall. Becky wants everybody to know, it is spring, and Dinstall's has all the Easter goodies blooming everywhere. So we had the cherry trees blossoming. We got pollen everywhere. And as much as we got pollen, we got goodies for Easter at Dinstall's everywhere. Chocolate rabbits, marshmallow eggs, coconut nest, and the award-winning chocolate fudge sucker. Everything to fill your baskets. And they won a national award for their fudge. Go get that and give that to the kids. They'll love you forever. Select from an array of colorful baskets that are chock full of all the traditional favorites to make this Easter the one to remember. So hop on over to Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, Pleasant View, or downtown. They got them all. All of your Easter treats are there for you to gather at any of those Dinstalls. We'll pause for just a second. When we come back, we will be joined by the TV voice of the Grizz. He's probably hoarse from all the work he did last night. He's got another game tonight, but he's kind enough to join us in just a minute. Pete Pranica comes your way next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Come celebrate the savings with Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike. It's Ram Truck Month and the Jeep Celebration event, so we're ready to rock. 2022 Jeep Renegade $5,000 off. 2022 Dodge Charger $6,000 off. And 2023 Grand Cherokee El Laredo with third row seating $7,000 off. Plus 2022 Fiat 500X $4,000 off. Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike says you won't find a better deal anywhere else. And if we don't have it, Gossett will order it today. So drive past the rest and come to the best at Gossett on the Pike or shop online at GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Fiat 500X, NP 98268, MSRP 30,950. Renegade, NPN 95921, MSRP 32130. Charger number NH261941, MSRP 35630. Cherokee, P8794494, MSRP 46765. Includes all rebates and incentives. Excludes tax time and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/31/23. Dealer stock only.
Do not. Do so. You do not love Central Barbecue more than me.
I've been talking about Central Barbecue for years. I was the first person to do these spots.
Well, I may be new doing them, but I want to shout from the rooftops just how much I love it.
Okay, smart guy. What are the sides at Central Barbecue?
Easy. Home-cooked pork rinds, home-cooked potato chips, greens, green beans, barbecue beans, onion rings, fries, and potato salad.
Lucky guess. What can you buy by the pound, huh?
Beef brisket, pulled pork, smoked turkey, my favorite, pulled chicken, smoked chicken, and barbecue bologna. Ha!
We're out of time.
I could do this all day.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Calling all the Mid-South. Bobby J is waiting for your call today to drive off in your new Kia from Gossett Kia on the Pike. 2023 Kia Soul LX $333 a month, $27.99 due at signing. Or 2023 Kia K5 LXS $362 a month, $31.99 due at signing. And 2023 Kia Sportage LX all-wheel drive $381 a month, $34.99 due at signing, all 36-month lease. And if you can't find what you're looking for, let Bobby J order a new ride for you today. Plus, Kia's best-in-class warranty, 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Ask for Bobby J. He'll put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike. Online, KiaCovingtonPike.com. If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars. All 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage. Sold P7866 988, MSRP 22,945. K5 PG 200 400, MSRP 26,455. Sportage PG 107,225, MSRP 29,790. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance 200. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/31/2023. Dealer stock only. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South sports station.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
You heard the announcer, our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. We're proud of that. They've been associated with my program for I don't know how long, how many years they've been our presenting sponsor, and they've always got something cooking up. Right now, if you would like a Genesis, and the G70 in particular, that's the smaller sedan, it's a sports car. It's like a rocket if you want to know the truth. Right now, if you want that luxury from Genesis, that littler sedan, and you agreed to do financing with Genesis, why not? They'll give you a $1,000 rebate. They're literally paying you to do business with them at Homer Skelton Hyundai, and I promise you they'll take care of you. All you got to do is get on 78. That's Lamar. First exit in Mississippi, that's Craft Road. Turn left, go see Chris True and the gang. And if you're interested in that Genesis deal, that G70, go see Vinny Gerard. He's a good guy, crazy Canadian. Go see Vinny about the G70 at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Kind enough to get up early, sacrificing sleep. Sacrificing maybe a golf game today. I don't know. I know he loves golf. And that would be the TV voice of the Grizzlies. That would be the one and only Pete Pranica. Good morning, Pete. Thank you for joining us. And I know you're going to be a mainstay on Wednesdays for a while now through the NBA season. All right, so with all the injuries, Brandon Clark gone, Steven Adams not playing, Ja's suspension, here they are about to pretty well clinch the second spot. Are you surprised at that?
Little surprised that in this stretch you go 10-1 with all of this going on. It is very surprising. And really the one game they lost, it was simply because Miami was playing otherworldly basketball. So this is the best stretch of the Grizzlies. They're a season best, 21 games over 500. Am I surprised? Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody would expect, 10 of 11 wins given all the circumstances. But Taylor Jenkins keeps saying, look, it's our togetherness. And it's a team that has figured out ways to win. Despite their youth, they have figured out ways to win games. Even last night against an Orlando team that simply would not go away. And I know that some of the late game execution wasn't all that good, but this is a team that they just figure it out. And oh, by the way, how about the biggest trade in the NBA that went totally under the radar? And that's Danny Green for Luke Kennard.
Wow. I am amazed at that. And once again, Zach Kleiman just absolutely makes the perfect deal. There's no doubt about that. And he figures out ways. There's no question. You were asked by me, beginning of the year, what would be a reasonable expectation, and you said avoiding the play-in, get in the first 6 spots. Later in the year, you said home court advantage, got to be in the top 4. That would be reasonable with where they were at that point. Now at 2, that guarantees you 2 home series, correct? If you win,
if you win, and you got to stay there. And Sacramento has a fairly soft schedule. They've got Portland twice, and Portland is basically thrown in the sponge for the rest of the season. So the Grizzlies are going to have to keep winning and not relying on Sacramento to lose in order to maintain that lead. Right now, the lead's 3 games, but in practical terms, it's 2 games because Sacramento has a better conference record, and so they've got the tiebreaker.
As you look at this team, and we're all amazed, how do you think they have done this with the loss, basically, of your 2 best? Triple J is in that group, so I take that back. But when you lose your best rotation guy inside in Brandon Clark, and you lose your starting 5 in Steven Adams, and then Ja for 8 games and all the controversy that's been so distracting, how do you think they've done this?
Well, I go back to the game where they're down 29 in San Antonio, and Tyus Jones in the walk-off interview told Rob Fisher, he said, look, we had some very difficult conversations at halftime. And Taylor Jenkins said in his post-game press conference that night, he said, we didn't show anybody any video. We said, guys, I'm opening the floor. And they had, as Tyus relayed, those difficult conversations about how poorly they had played, the goals that they had. And then I asked Tyus last night, I said, this run of excellent play, does that flow from that night in San Antonio? And he said, not directly. He said, that night we started having these difficult conversations and honest conversations with each other as players, and those conversations have continued. So this is something where Taylor Jenkins is a great leader, and he has connected with his team, but he's basically let the team take ownership of this and say, guys, where do we want to go? And you tell us how you think we can get there. And so I think the leadership is there. I think everybody looks at Tyus Jones saying, oh, well, he's kind of a quiet guy and all that. People who know him really well, people who have coached him before, have told me this kid is a tremendous leader, and he's got a killer instinct that nobody knows about unless you coach him or play with him.
What do you think the main topic or 2 of those conversations truly was?
I think it's attention to detail. A reminder that simply because we play at home doesn't mean you're going to get a win. Simply because, you're 21 games above 500 doesn't mean you're going to get a win. Because as you come down to the end of the season, and the play-in tournament has created this end-of-season frenzy, it used to be late March and April for a lot of teams was just garbage time. Well, there are still teams, even Orlando, fractionally involved in the play-in chase. So there's more meaningful basketball being played by more teams. And I think detail, lock in. This is important. The dog days of February are over, where guys kind of get tired and they're going into the All-Star break, and then they take a break, and then they got to kind of get back into it. No, now's the time to lock in. If you want to lift a trophy and have a parade on Beale Street, now's the time you really, really have to dig in and lock in, particularly with game plan discipline. And I think when the Grizzlies have slipped and have not played well, it's because they're not paying attention to their defensive game plan and they're not tending to the details. And as of late, they have been.
What would you do if you were Taylor Jenkins when Steven Adams is back and available? Would you start him, or would you, because you've had so much success now with Tillman, would you bring Adams off the bench? How do you think Taylor Jenkins works that position?
Well, I think that Steven Adams goes back in the starting lineup because the only thing that has really hurt this team is the rebounding margin going to the other team. Since Steve-O's been out, which is now 29 games, believe it or not, the Grizzlies are basically -4 on the glass per game. They were leading the league in rebound margin when Adams was playing. You saw the Grizzlies give up big offensive rebound numbers again last night. Saw that happen in Atlanta. That's not tenable because now you're hoping that your three-point shooting and your offense is going to be really good, which it has been, but you can't always count on that. But the ability to deny second-chance opportunities to the other team is going to be huge in the playoffs because typically the game slows down. There are fewer possessions. So possession of the basketball is huge, and Steven Adams is a guy who can get you those possessions either by denying the other team an offensive rebound or he's an extra possession because he can get you offensive rebounds.
What does your gut feel about his return? I mean, we really haven't seen him except working out on that little ladder thing where he looked pretty good when we thought he might be coming back. And he's looked beautiful in the Lilly AT&T commercials. But nothing on the court. Do you think he's back?
That's something for the medical team, and we really haven't had any kind of an update. I mean, honestly, my thought is if you can get through the end of the regular season and get the 2 seed, and you don't, you're not forced into bringing Steven Adams back. Don't forget, after the regular season, you have almost a week because the season ends on a Sunday. The first home playoff game wouldn't be until the next Saturday or Sunday because in that week off, this is the benefit of not being in the play-in. You get an extra 4 or 5 days. So, would that be helpful that then he would be ready for the playoffs? So, I don't have any solid information to share with you. Taylor Jenkins, we'll reevaluate him in early April, which is only a couple of days away, and we'll see what their reevaluation reveals.
What team would you not want to face in the first round?
Golden State. I mean, they have championship experience. And it's such a hate-filled rivalry right now that I don't find those to be terribly pleasant. Although I'm sure the Grizzlies and their fans would love to knock Golden State out of the playoffs, but Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, those guys got rings. I mean, Klay keeps reminding us that they've got four rings.
4 of them, right?
Yeah, 4 of them. So that would be difficult because both of these teams have tremendous home court advantages, and both of them struggle on the road.
And that is a genuine dislike, right? I mean, this is not manufactured, trying to make a rivalry out of this to get rating. These guys don't really like each other. Dylan Brooks cannot stand Draymond Green.
There are a lot of people that follow the Grizzlies that can't stand Draymond Green or Klay Thompson for that matter. It's been a war of words, and they got 4 rings, but there's a lot of dislike. And then when you have it, if you were to have a series like that, then a lot of focus goes on the officiating and how that series is officiated. And then that brings with it a certain level of controversy. And, they're just the trash talk in a 7-game series with Golden State would be off the charts.
All right. I'm glad you brought that up because it's in my notes. I wanted to ask you about this. You've been an NBA referee for a broadcaster for a long, long time. What do you think is the quality of officiating at the NBA level at this moment? And I ask you that because I watch an incredible amount of disrespect on both sides. I can't remember the player that threw a ball at a ref last week. I mean, he needs to be suspended.
That was Trae Young.
Trae Young, he should be suspended for several games for that, in my mind. But the total disrespect and disconnect between both sides, and it's on both sides, like the tee that Jaren Jackson Jr. got last night was ridiculous. I mean, he didn't really deserve it. He wasn't trying to show him up. He was just frustrated with the call. He didn't. I don't think he was even looking at the guy when he called it. So give me what you think the officiating is like in this day and age and why there's such a disconnect.
I think the officiating, I think the quality of officiating is good. We have to deal with the reality that this is a very young and relatively inexperienced staff as a whole. A lot of the old stalwarts have either retired simply because they aged out, and we have referees that could be refereeing before if they didn't have injuries. So it's a very young staff. And there's also, the NBA has said to its officials that, we want to have decorum on the floor. We want to have respect for the game. And what was happening in prior years, Wolo, was that referees sometimes would be a little more forgiving in terms of technical fouls. And so one time a guy would get away with an air punch, and then the next game was a technical. And so the NBA was of a mind to say, we have to be more consistent. And one of the things that Monty McCutcheon, the head of referee operations, will tell referees, you have to be brave enough and strong enough and courageous enough to maintain the decorum on the court. Sometimes, I agree with you. Jaren was running off the floor, threw his arms up. The rule states if you have an emotional reaction and it dissolves immediately, it is not to be penalized with a technical foul. And I just thought that was...
Oh, you didn't deserve it then. If that's the rule, then that was a bad call by the official.
I agree with you. But we're seeing things tighten up in some ways. I know that the league is working very hard with officials to communicate with players. But again, because we have more teams playing more meaningful games late into the season, emotions are running higher. And the league is doing a lot to try to enhance the communication with broadcasters, with players. In fact, tonight we're going to have Kane Fitzgerald, who's the head of the replay center. He will be on our pregame show, and we will bring him in during the game, kind of like the national TV broadcast would bring in Steve Javie on ESPN, for example.
Oh, wow, that's great.
So, yes, there's the league is doing its very best. They're also working with a very young and inexperienced staff where sometimes you may get a crew chief who's out there with 20 years of experience, and the two referees with him may be 5-6 years in the league or 1 or 2 years in the league. So it's something that the league is working on. I think the quality of the referee officiating is good. Right now, the call accuracy is trending where it has over previous years. So that's the only metric that I have really to report on.
All right, last thing along those lines. In college, the players are not allowed to talk with the referees about calls, only the coaches. What about that as an option?
That would be a tremendous sea change. But if you're trying to get players to respect officials and officials to respect players, and if they can't talk to each other, then I think now you're making the situation worse. Because officials and players and coaches can have respectful conversations like, why did you call that? And there will be some officials who will say, you know what, you may be right. I'm going to go back and look at it at halftime, and maybe I missed it. If you don't have those conversations, I think that really separates. I think, speaking from a broadcaster's perspective, the fact that I know so many referees and have conversations with them about rules and interpretations, it helps the overall product. How do you advance the game? And I think the best way to advance the game as far as officiating is for players and referees to have constructive conversations during the course of the game. It's when it becomes disrespectful or Trae Young whips a ball at Scott Wall that now the whistle has to come out.
He is Pete Prenica, TV voice of the Grizz. Don't forget to watch him tonight when the Grizz take on the Clippers. Thank you, my friend. I look forward to next Wednesday.
Sounds good, Wolo. Thanks for having me.
There he is. He's brought to you by Old Dominic. Those are the proud partners of this city. They really are. They're downtown, right in the heart on Main Street. They have distillery tours, curated tastings, craft cocktails with their terrific products. Speaking of which, their master distiller, Alex Castle, has finally released a couple of whiskeys that I want to tell you about. You can get them anywhere throughout any of the spirit shops all over town. She never releases the product until it's perfect. And the Bottle and Bond, the new Old Dominick whiskey, Bottle and Bond means it's at least 100 proof, is fantastic. So is the Sipping whiskey. All new products, and I mean they're great. And you can learn about it, the history of Domenico Canelli and all of the Old Dominick products by doing the tour, or if you just want to check out the bar, it's cool, right on Main Street. Looking for something different, head to see my friends at Old Dominick. We head to Baton Rouge in just a minute. We'll talk the NCAA tournament and the SEC with our SEC historian. That would be Ron Higgins, and he comes your way in just a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The Showboats are back in Memphis.
We can't wait to have you for the USFL.
Let's go. Ticket prices start at just $10 for their long-awaited homecoming season.
Way to the house.
April 15th starts a new era of pro football at the Liberty Bowl when the Showboats seek to reclaim their USFL legacy. Bring the whole family and don't miss the Showboats' historic return.
It's a touchdown.
Buy your tickets today at theusfl.com.
Mitsubishi Motors Spring Sales Event is on at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Come test drive the all-new 2023 Outlander plug-in hybrid electric with 420 total range, 64 combined MPG, and 38 minutes best charging time. And you may be eligible for up to $7,500 federal EV incentive and $1,500 lease cash. Come check it out at Gossett Mitsubishi. Plus 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander with 3 rows of seating for up to 7 people. We Gossett at $499 a month or buy for $34,055. Looking for some peace of mind in your new ride? How about Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty? 2023 Outlander, $499 a month, or get 1.9 for 36 months and test drive the all-new 2023 Outlander plug-in hybrid electric. That's Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
Outlander PZO 12158 MSRP 34555 includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/31/2023. Dealer stock only.
Everyone loves TV Dad.
On the next TV Dad, presented by Progressive, TV Dad explains becoming a man.
Son, it's time we had the talk.
Okay, TV Dad.
You know, drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Oh, is that why my voice is changing?
That's a question for your health teacher.
Listen to your TV Dad. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Everyone's getting excited about March Crazy.
Don't you mean madness?
No, crazy. You know the Crazy Coupe.
The Crazy what?
The Crazy Coupe. $71.99 Highway 64 between Appling and Kirby Whitten. Not only do they have the best chicken wings in Memphis, they got 27 crazy flavors to choose from. You can even buy their crazy sauce and seasoning.
That sounds delicious, but what's crazy about the Crazy Coupe?
Their prices. Right now, you can get 3 whole wings or 6 party wings, regular fry and drink for $9.99.
Now that's a crazy good price.
I think the wings are so good at the Crazy Coupe, they'll change the games in March to March Crazy.
That's crazy enough. It just may work.
The Crazy Coupe, $71.99 Highway 64 between Appling and Kirby Whitten. Family owned and operated, and coming soon, a second location opening up on Ridgeway just off Poplar. The Crazy Coupe, with 27 crazy flavors to choose from, you'd be crazy not to visit the Coupe.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Baton Rouge we go, and our historian Ron Higgins on the SEC joins us now. Was this a disappointing year for the SEC? Got all those bids, 8 bids, and even a 1, and not that much advancement. What's your take? Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, good morning to you too. Yeah, I mean, you had teams. An Alabama team which just had as much talent as it's ever had, and the very top seed of the tournament, and they got beat. Tennessee got beat. I mean, the team that you expected to, I guess, have a shot in the Final Four just didn't get there. I think Tennessee, I think if their point guard doesn't get hurt, I think they're there. I thought they had enough inside muscle to get there. I just think they need a little bit of leadership outside. They lost that when their point guard got hurt.
Right.
Alabama was a train wreck ever since the stuff happened off the court. They were on borrowed time. Things happen, but it happened. It happened to everybody in this tournament. I mean, it's not a sexy Final Four. I think we said all year. I mean, anybody could. It was wide open, and man, it really was wide open. You look at the field of this tournament, what's left in the Final Four, and no disrespect to the teams involved, but it looks like a Thanksgiving tournament in Pensacola.
Well,
with the field they got, I mean, it really does. But
yeah, you're when you say that, it's not Maui, it's not Atlantis, it's you're right, in Pensacola.
Yeah, and it's I mean, the best. They always say, will this crown the best team in the nation? Maybe not, but for this tournament, you will find a winner. I think it's UConn. I don't know if anybody else is going to win. I think UConn has been far and away the most steady, clear, but team that's been playing this tournament. So I like them. That said, you can still get it. Now you can get a ticket for the Final Four for $100. I'll look at that upper deck. So
that's right.
So it's not a sexy Final Four.
Obviously, I'll be honest with you. I don't mind the fact that there's no number ones. I don't mind the fact that there's hardly any Power Fives except for Miami. I love the fact that this tournament, when you let the competition on the floor happen, that anybody can win. And when you got a 9 seed like FAU, and they've had some incredible luck in this thing, but also great play, to me, that's what makes this tournament so good. Let me go back to Alabama, Brandon Miller, who shot like 19% for the tournament. Do you think the pressure got to him, a groin injury got to him, or just the way the whole school mishandled everything with that team, it seemed to me, from the very beginning? What do you think undid Alabama and Brandon Miller?
I think all those things combined. I think the off-the-court stuff had a huge role in this. You can't ignore it. It's the one place you can't hide. In the NCAA tournament, the general public doesn't know this, but and you know this, but in the NCAA tournament, the locker rooms are open to the media. They're not open to the media all year.
Right.
Schools open their locker rooms, but in the NCAA tournament, you have the locker rooms are open, which means they're in there for 30 minutes at least. And those same questions get asked the Alabama players over and over again, even the ones who weren't involved. They get asked them, and it wears on you. I think it got to him. Absolutely got to him. I think he also kind of mentally checked out, thinking, I can't wait till this is over. I'll be going to the NBA anyway, so I can kind of leave some of this stuff behind, at least the scrutiny of it. He'll be scrutinized NBA, but NBA has had guys been involved in worse stuff.
Oh yeah,
hard to believe, but
not
NBA,
not that much worse.
Yeah, but NBA is a business. And they don't really care as long as you are contribute to your team and you show that you put that stuff behind you. But you can't deny. He was involved with a bad guy. and he made choices like that. It's like Saban said a week later when his guy got arrested. You know, you made choices.
Yeah.
And you set the price for him.
And he took a shot. I don't care what he says now. When he said there is no wrong place, wrong time, that was absolutely a shot at Nate Oates.
That was absolutely a shot. But you know, for better or for worse, that's Nick, and I agree with him. You put yourself in those situations. I mean, you just do. And you're lucky when you get out of it. Nobody really remembers this, but you and me. But right before Penny Hardaway went to Memphis, he got shot by a stray bullet.
Right.
Maybe wrong place at the wrong time. And I think he learned a lesson right there too, that you've got to protect yourself, and you have to be with the right people all the time. I'm sure it's a lesson that stuck with him his entire life. I'm sure he passes it on to his team daily.
I bet he does. That is really a good point. And here's a guy who doesn't drink. He doesn't. I don't think he's ever done a drug or anything. And you're right. He sometimes the people you hang with are the ones that are going to do you in. You got to be very, very careful. Ron Higgins, as always, we appreciate it. By the way, we'll talk maybe next week, but congratulations. Coaching matters, right? Kim Mulkey, Final Four, 35 wins. She did that quickly at LSU. It's pretty phenomenal. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it.
All right, Wolo, take care.
That is our guy in Baton Rouge. That is Ron Higgins. He's brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, they're famous for their 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up. You do that on air conditioning right now. It's supposed to be in the 70s tomorrow. No, it's cool today, but in the 70s tomorrow, and it only goes up from there. So if you want your system to last longer, make it efficient. How do you do that? You get that tune-up from Conway by calling 384-3511. Also, it'll halt in its place any kind of costly breakdowns so your house stays cool all year long, your system lasts longer, you're efficient. You can, again, call 384-3511, or you can visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. $69 of preventative medicine goes a long, long way. I can promise you that with Conway. That'll do it for us. Tomorrow, NFL with Russell Copeland and a whole lot more. We'll talk Grizz and Clips, so that'll be fun. In the meantime, have a great day, everybody. Johnny Harden is next.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always